So thanks for being with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your candidacy. You're running for state assembly, I understand.
Yeah, I would love to. Is this more like question and answer? I don't like want to speak for the whole 15 minutes. I might speak for,
Whatever
six
you
or
want.
7 minutes, and then you can ask me questions. I would love to take some chat questions as well. So I'll speak for maybe 5, 6 minutes and then take some questions. Is that okay, Roger?
That's absolutely. Our audience
Hey.
is anxious to ask questions, so if you'll take them, I think they would love that.
Okay, I would love. I'm a teacher, so I love engaging. As you can see, I'm already engaged in the chat. Yeah. So thank you for giving me this time, Roger. This is great. A lot of grassroots candidates like me don't get this opportunity, so I really appreciate it. I think my presentation is going to be kind of the opposite of a little in terms of views, but that's okay. That's why we have a democracy, and I respect all views. And the ability in America to disagree is powerful. You don't have that all over the rest of the world, so I appreciate my freedom and doing that. So that being said, okay, let me get started here. So my name is Fatima Iqbal-Zubair. I'm running for California State Assembly District 64. I just want to start by saying, what that means. A lot of folks don't know a lot about local politics. So what that is there's 80 assembly districts, and I'm in 64. So my district is South LA. It's one of the poorest in California. 90% people of color, Black and brown, includes Compton, Watts, Carson, where I live, and Wilmington. Those are some of the cities. So South LA area. I am a mother to a son with special needs. That's really influenced a lot of my activism, a lot of my work. My son has autism. I am also a public school teacher who worked in Watts. So I saw that, I saw the public school system, and I kind of know that as well. And I'm also an immigrant. I actually was born in Dubai. I'm Sri Lankan by heritage, but immigrated to Canada, when the Gulf War was opening up, not opening up rather, but about to start, to Canada. Lived in Saskatchewan, the first province to get healthcare for all. And then immigrated to the US, and I did my high school and college and post-grad education here. I'm proud, actually yesterday we found I'm really proud to have the endorsements of Senator Bernie Sanders. So really proud of that. He is someone that has really inspired me in the way he's talked openly about things. He's kind of an anti-establishment on both sides, and just talks about the issues, and I really respect that about him. I'm also endorsed by Amar Shergill, who's the chair of the Progressive Caucus of the California Democratic Party, endorsed by the California Progressive Alliance, DSA, Our Revolution, Sunrise Movement LA, Food and Water Action, People's Action, Nationals, Women's Political Caucus, and more. I'll put my website in there so you could check out more of my endorsements. This is why I'm running. So, I'm really running, Roger and everyone else watching, because of what I saw in my work as a teacher and organizer in Watts. We all do know about the educational inequities, and the last panelist here talked about that. We do have that in California. We have, schools that are segregated. We have schools that are unequally funded, and it's just a fact. And I was kind of on the bottom end of that with my students working in Watts. I was really inspired by how hard my kids work, despite some of them being homeless, despite some of them being in foster care, single family homes, going through a whole, load of issues that more privileged communities might not experience in that capacity. And I was just really proud of them still coming to school and being willing to learn. You do have, kids being kids, but for the most part, that really inspired me. And I never lowered my standards. I grew up going to good public schools. I kept my standards up here for my kids, and they met them. One thing I did was I started a robotics team in Watts, the first of its kind. It was kind of a statewide, international program called First Robotics, and our team's name was the Terra Watts. I'm very proud of them. They went on to win some awards, and they're still strong. So I'm really proud of the mentors and the students that are part of that team. But what I saw was basically, severe educational inequities, right? That's what I saw. When I started my robotics team, I had to get all private funding. The district didn't give me any money. My husband had a robotics team in another school, in a more well-off district, less folks of color, less low-income folks, and, they got all the funding. They can ask the kids to pay, $200, right? And many of the kids can do that. My kids, if you ask them to pay $30 for a team sweatshirt, that's a struggle. And that's why I really saw inequity. I was trying to bring classes to the school, project-based learning, and I was just up against so many roadblocks. That was one of my biggest pushes for running. I realized how broken the education system is, how unequal it is, and how inequitable it is. But the other thing I saw was a lot of environmental, racism. I saw, our school not having clean water, not being built following environmental code. I saw my kids in Watts, not always, in their homes, in the projects where they live, having access to clean water. I saw, environmental toxic sites. Our football field had lead and arsenic toxicity. We had a recycling facility, I believe, still by our school that was spewing out lead and arsenic, at least toxic projectiles. I don't want to misquote there. But 1,000 kids going in and out of the school, being subject not just to the educational inequities, but the environmental issues as well. And then I also was teaching while the kids were going through, they were building new housing. And I did see some of my kids have to move out because rents rose, and we saw displacement of Black families especially happen. So I experienced all of it firsthand. And when Trump got elected, this is what I wouldn't know unless I worked in Watts. And a lot of people won't know unless they lived or worked in a community like that. When Trump got elected, there was a lot of fear with my kids. When ICE came in our neighborhoods, they were legitimately fearful that their families would be separated, because of their status. They were, when the government shut down, they were legitimately worried that they wouldn't have food on the table the next day. And and so anyway, in my work there, as you can see, I got really invested as a teacher when I saw these issues. I couldn't just leave the school day at 3:30. I stayed. I often was the last teacher to leave. And I would be at community meetings, and that was my work. And so now looking back to I want to talk a little bit about the district, because this is why I started running. My work as a teacher led me to, be appointed as a commissioner for my current opponent. And I saw the way he did things. It was very top-down leadership. It wasn't listening to the community leaders and really answering to them. And getting to know my district, we have 25% of California's refineries, only 54% of us have high school degrees, 11.7% of us have college degrees. We have 4 times the eviction rates of the rest of the county. I've started this campaign. I can continue talking about systemic classism, systemic racism in poor communities and Black and brown communities. My district is a perfect picture of that, unfortunately. And it's, and this is the stories. The truth is, Roger and everyone else, the story is not unique in our district. It's happening all over California. It's happening, in other communities like mine all over California. California right now does not work for the working class. And here are the facts and the receipts to show it. We have the most wealth of any state in the nation. We have folks with the highest income. We have the most billionaires of any state in the nation. Yet our income inequality gap is the highest of any state in the nation. Our wealth gap is the highest of any in the nation. Our housing, our homelessness is, the highest rate of any state in the nation. So with the wealth that we have and the capacity we have to be for the people, this is what I agree with the last speaker on, the super majority of Democrats we have up there have unfortunately failed, and they haven't succeeded. And, while I'm running as a Democrat, I don't consider myself affiliated to one kind of a belief system. I really want to be community-based and for the people, and I like looking at facts. When I look at the facts over the past few years, the Democrats up there, or the legislature up there, have failed, and it's time to elect people that are really for the people, and not thought out. And part of the reason that's happening is that there's this intense pay-to-play system in California, and this is not a Republican issue, because we have a supermajority up there, and it's just an establishment party issue where we have politicians just being bought up by the oil companies, by the developers, by the charter school industry. So we see privatization of school happening. We see oil companies, that have these false policies put on them. We see housing increase. We see more housing built for, the wealthy and not really affordable housing. And so that is what I see as the issue happening in California. That's why I want to run. My assemblyman, my opponent, is one of those people. He's the second biggest acceptor of corporate money that accepts the most in gifts from corporations, and it's directly affected his votes in the state system. He's especially bad on environmental justice. He's voted against almost every environmental bill. He's especially bad on criminal justice and housing. And my district has paid for it, and it's simply not fair. Simple as that. We have to change the way we do things in California. I'm wrapping up here. I have about 2 more points I want to make. We have to change the way we do things in California. That much is clear. Based on what I said, and I'm sure what many of you know on this call. So what do we have to change? We have to, first of all, when I look at this, I'm not going to sit up here and say, yes, I'm endorsed by Senator Sanders, and I do espouse, I guess, quote unquote, progressive values, but I'm also a teacher. I'm a critical thinker. And what I see is, to get the people-based policies we need to get corruption. out of politics. We need to get transparency into politics, accountability in politics, as the last speaker talked about. Completely agree with that. What that means is we need to get corporate spending out of politics. So what I want to do is also pass legislation to limit corporate spending. I want to pass legislation to also expand our democracy in ways that people feel like they can be involved. And so I want to pass publicly funded elections, which we have in other countries that are really successful. Where if you want to run, if my student wants to run one day, right? First generation college student who doesn't come from a lot of wealth, she can run and she can win. I want to pass some sort of proportional representation or ranked choice voting to really avoid this polarization of parties where the Democrats are saying, I hate you, Republicans are saying, I hate you, Democrats. I don't think that's useful for anyone, most especially the people that I work with in Watts, right? It's just damaging, this type of extreme polarization. I really want to allow those independent voices to be heard, which is why I believe in ranked choice voting and proportional representation. I also believe in, making sure that the money is really going back into communities and not into the hands of the wealthy. I am not of the belief that in trickle-down economics that hasn't worked. And I truly believe that we need to make sure our working class is thriving, because right now in California, working class is shrinking. And so I believe in a wealth tax. I believe in an exit tax. I believe in, although I do believe California is not always fiscally responsible. So I do believe the money we do have, we are wasting on things we shouldn't be wasting on. For example, we have people on death row right now that cost the state millions of dollars. It costs more to, jail someone than give them a home or then educate them. And so I really believe we need to be investing in the right things, and our money is being not spent in the right direction. So the only thing I wanted to, the one thing I wanted to mention is I want to also expand voting rights and access in California, allow 16-year-olds to vote in school board elections. For example, I want to make voting a national holiday. We have a lot that we can do for voting rights as a state. I just want to expand our democracy. Some of the other policies, as the last one I want to make, I really am for is, transitioning California with a just transition to renewable energy and making sure no one's losing a job. I would like to make sure we have clean water everywhere, make sure we have access to clean food everywhere, because we don't have that right now for everyone. I would like to make sure we have an education system that's the best in the world. And I'm not afraid to work with everyone. I'm not afraid to work with the unions and challenge them, the teachers' unions, when we have to. I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not bought out by anyone right now. I'm not taking any corporate PAC money or anything. And so I want to really work with every side, Republicans, Democrats, unions, non-union, everyone, to get this done. I'll post my website for all of my policies, but yeah, that's it, Roger. I would love to take some questions if you have a few minutes.
We only got 2 minutes left, but I'll ask one. Since you're an educator, and I have a daughter that's in the public school now, and people joke that COVID has turned us all into day drinking homeschoolers. But let me ask you, should the schools be reopened? Should kids go back to school? And as an educator, what would you say?
Yeah, that's a great question, Roger. I always want to follow what the data and facts are saying. For me, I do see the struggle of kids. I mean, my son has autism. Imagine him in front of a screen. He's just sensory overload. A lot of my kids in my district don't have broadband access. The hotspot is awful. So I would like us to go back to school, as soon as possible. Let me put it that way. I'm not up there seeing all the facts of the data in California, but I would say as soon as it's safe to. I'm definitely think that we should go back, because I think, that a lot of kids, get what they need at school. They get their lunch, they get internet access, they get their teacher in person. Yeah, so as soon as it's safe as possible, I think we should go back to school.
Okay. Well, I see that you've posted your website in the chat, or somebody did. I think that was you.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here. It's Fatima S. Iqbal-Zubair, and thanks very much.
Thank you, Roger.